Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Naruto video. This one's going to be my first ever video covering a Naruto anime episode. This one is going to be a review for anime episode 458, which is called Itachi's Story, Light and Darkness, Truth. So this is the episode is actually called Truth. It's part of the Itachi story arc. And yeah, this is the finale of the Itachi arc, and also half of the episode is canon. So the first half is the end of the Itachi arc, and we immediately transition into the canon stuff, which is the start of the next kind of arc, final stage of the war, Kaguya arc, basically. So, interesting episode. I don't think anyone was really expecting this episode to be part canon. I think maybe people expected like a cliffhanger ending, like, oh, we're back to canon. But half of the episode being canon was a pleasant surprise, I think. But let's start off with the first half of the episode. I think this was a very poor ending to the Itachi arc, because I think the last couple of episodes have actually been very interesting, like seeing Itachi joining the Akatsuki, seeing his early missions, how he eventually came to have Kisame as his partner, the various people that were with him before then, and just in general see like the Akatsuki at like earlier stages when they weren't as powerful. Even before then, seeing a closer look at Itachi's relationship with like Shisui, and little reveals about like his Itachi's father and stuff like that were very interesting. Just getting an extra insight into Itachi's mind as we go through some of those moments we know about. The problem with this episode was that we just covered basically the last couple of moments of Itachi's life, basically. Effectively, most of the stuff that happens after Naruto the series basically begins. We cover all of that basically over in the half of this episode, and the only real extra insight we get is just like inner dialogue from Itachi saying, "I'm sorry, Sasuke," when he's beating him up during the scene where they meet in part 1, where the Akatsuki is revealed for the first time. Other than that, it was just like, here's this, here's Itachi dying during his battle with Sasuke, here's Itachi reanimated Sasuke leaving away, and like basically for the last time, and no real insight into kind of what this whole arc was about, like what Sasuke was trying to get out of basically remembering Itachi's life. And because when we come out of that arc into what Sasuke is thinking, he basically says like, okay, I now know what I have to do, because he's just reflected on what Itachi was through. So there's no real insight into like really what was that about. It was just kind of a couple of flashback scenes. It was nice to kind of see those scenes again, because some of them happened a very long time ago. But in terms of this being like an adaptation of the two books, Itachi Light and Darkness, I don't really know what these scenes were specifically meant to mean here, because they didn't really even go into what was actually explained within those episodes. It was just those moments again. Again, I'll probably get more out of those books when they actually come out in English and you can actually read them, rather than this adaptation, which people who have already read those books is saying the books are much better. They go to a lot more depth and stuff. So they'll be fun when they do come out. I think they were just recently confirmed by Viz to be translated into English towards the later part of the year, but we'll get to those when they come out. But yeah, let's get into the canon side of this episode. This was actually really good, like a pretty eventful kind of 11 minutes, I suppose. Just straight away, coming out of the initial, activation of the Infinite Tsukiyomi is over, so Itachi can release his Susanoo, and it's just revealed that there's only a couple of people still left active in this battle. It's basically Madara plus Black Zetsu, who has control over Obito's body, on the kind of bad guy side, and then the only good guys left really are Sasuke, Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi. So we're down to a very low amount of characters. Just this is the final battle, the key people involved, and yeah, the first part of this episode is basically just, okay, we've avoided this major technique. We're going to have a little talk before the kind of last battle commences. And I really like what they did here, because it was Madara really, I think, really well, doing a really good job at explaining why he thinks he's correct in what he's doing, why he thinks the Infinite Tsukuyomi is the right thing to do for the world. Because in his mind, Hashirama, the first Hokage, what he did only caused more war. I really like the use of that flashback back to the kind of Hashirama Madara kind of flashback story arc, and just this idea that look, people chose him as Hokage, chose him to lead the village and what to do, and he basically formed this more just structured ninja world in the effort of creating peace, peace between the various nations. But all that caused was basically just a more structured war. Just wars happening one after the other, the first, second, third, fourth ninja war. He says, yeah, I admit, I caused the fourth ninja war, but I feel like what I'm doing right now is better for the world than just leaving it the way it was for like a fifth and sixth war to happen and just people to just constantly die. This way, I've ended the war. Like, once I defeat you, the war is over. Everyone else will still be alive. I'm not planning to kill them. They're gonna basically live their life in their dreams, get exactly what they want, live a peaceful life, and I'll have exactly what I want in the real world. I'm extremely powerful. The Ten Tails Jinchuriki. I have control over everyone. Everyone wins basically in his mind, and it's obviously not ideal in that the obviously counter argument is that no one is actually experiencing what is actually happening. None of that is actually real. It's their kind of ideal kind of what they want, but that's not always how things play out. And you have to kind of become strong in your own, make these things happen yourself. And it's the same for Madara, but it did a good job because it kind of shows that okay, he's not just a just unspeakable villain who just has no concept of like what is happening here. That no, there's a reason why he thinks this way and why he thinks he's right and Hashirama's wrong and why he doesn't think he's the villain. Like he's not just acting like a full-on villain. We kind of know he is, but what he says here, I think, does a very good job at kind of just making it more of this kind of difference in ideologies rather than just good guy bad guy situation. Just using the Hashirama flashback was, as I said, really really well done. Just kind of give you his insight that he feels that what Hashirama did only created more war, whereas yes, Madara started the war, but he's now ended it for all time because the people who are still alive are just gonna live their lives in peace, and he's ended all war on the world. And we obviously know that okay, like yes, wars did happen after what Hashirama did, but it did stop, I suppose, what was the issue during their time as young shinobi themselves during the war. In that, it was very much the case where just once you became kind of age, you were sent out into the war to fight basically your neighbors, and everyone was just getting killed left, right, and center. There was no organization, no obvious kind of groups of people that were kind of above others. It was just constant small scale wars all over the place, and there was no peace whatsoever. Whereas, at least with what Hashirama did in creating, the Hidden Leaf Village and then the other great ninja villages forming, you get the idea that there was peace for certain parts of time. And, these villages formed, and the idea of like who the shinobi were different, that they trained and they were only sent out to do battle once they were old enough. But obviously things change over the course of the war, and they make a big point to highlight, like especially during the third Great Ninja War, that it was kind of back to the way things were initially, where kids were being sent out again, Kakashi Squad being the key example. But yeah, just this idea that neither of them were perfect, like the whole, reincarnations of Indra and Ashura, that era of reincarnations didn't quite work out. That they weren't the ones to end the cycle of hatred, but this era's reincarnations can. Now, Naruto and Sasuke, I think, have the potential to do that. So, the whole story, I think, is very much coming together. You can sort of see what's happening here, but obviously the key moment is that like he thinks, I've accomplished everything I've wanted, and then out of nowhere, just he's stabbed through, the chest by Black Zetsu from behind. Big betrayal moment. And the big thing is like, okay, Black Zetsu, you've been kind of mysterious up to now, but how do you have the power to effectively, okay, stab him through the chest and just kind of make Madara helpless? Because like even Guy basically blew apart Madara's body, but he was still able to piece himself back together more or less. Yet one stab through the chest, and in this case, Black Zetsu has like complete control over Madara. It's really a big shocking moment. And I like what happens here in that he's just like, what's happening here? Like I created you. You're a manifestation of my will, aren't you? And all the little reveals that come out here to show just how badly used Madara was, and you feel some level of sympathy for him because he's just explained his kind of ideals himself behind why he did all this, and getting the reveals that like, look, your whole goal here, the whole plan that you wanted to accomplish, you based it all off the Uchiha stone tablet that was kind of left behind by like the Sage of Six Paths or whatever. I edited that. Black Zetsu says that. He put revisions on that. He's been alive much longer than Madara. He's been able to put this in place for a really long time and wrote it in such a way where like, look, an Uchiha is going to kind of go against things and want to create the world the way he wants it. But in fact, what the technique actually does is just a way to revive Kaguya. And it's interesting because like the whole part of Madara's plan is that he feels that people staying alive but experiencing their life the way they want it, ideally, is kind of the aim of the technique, the infinite dream. When in fact that's just a kind of side effect of the technique. Whereas what the technique actually does is it's a way to basically draw in a massive amount of chakra from a large amount of people at once, and that White Zetsu, I really like the explanation of what White Zetsu are, in that when Kaguya used this technique first initially, all the people of her era were taken over by the Infinite Tsukiyomi. And what it did was it basically trapped them in the same way, but over time, I think they were like sealed inside like the Ghetto statue, and you kind of go back through the history of all the Zetsu and stuff like that. So basically, all of these people, White Zetsu, are just the kind of mutated remains of all of the people from Kaguya's time. And obviously, when Madara slash Black Zetsu kind of brought them back, seemingly, Madara has created life. And the reason that happens is just because Black Zetsu kind of manipulated Madara and like they just pulled these people back out of the Ghetto statue. And so all of these people that they're fighting are effectively just people from the past, but horribly mutated just to become White Zetsu. And eventually all of the people that are currently experiencing these dreams, the same thing will happen to them. And that's obviously like immediately a thing where like they need to stop this technique somehow because, all of these characters that are also under the Genjutsu, like Gaara, Tsunade, Hinata, and so on, all these characters we care about, if our heroes are defeated here, all the other people are going to suddenly be eventually transformed into White Zetsu, and that's not something they want to happen. So, I really like that explanation. I know the main story of how the Naruto comes to an end from the game Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. I haven't yet read the manga. I'm currently rereading that, as I'll explain a little bit at the end. So that point was completely glossed over in the video game explanation of the end of the story. So I like the little subtle moment of having that here, and explaining a lot about what White Zetsu are. Now, obviously, they are a very complex issue in that, like, wait, there's so many of them. Are they all people from the past? And like, how does Hashirama's cells come into that? And like, are only some of them actually people from the past, or are some of them just straight up clones? Hard to really say right now, but it explains that at least some of the Zetsu that they fought during the war were people from the past. But yeah, and then basically after that, we just get the Black Zetsu activating I suppose the final stage of what this jutsu's plan, his plan was, and that is using all of the chakra that's been stored up by the Infinite Tsukiyume technique and having Madara absorb all of it kind of through him, and you get this really cool animation as like he just starts to expand, and there's a little slight element of humor to it in that like really you're gonna make a like he's gonna pop joke about like chakra at the serious moment, but he doesn't. He like it seems like he's about to pop, but then suddenly it all compresses down, forms into this woman, and it's revealed to be Kaguya. So Black Zetsu has basically using all this chakra transformed Madara into Kaguya. Now, obviously, that needs an explanation, of course, which I assume we'll get in the next episode or two. But just very, very cool moment to finally have the reveal of the actual endgame villain, and this guy who's been such a threat throughout the show for so long, Madara, such a legendary character, and then he's been so powerful as a villain in like the last couple of canon episodes, to just be taken out like that, and you actually feel a little bit of sympathy for him, and all of a sudden this other legendary figure, like the person who like first basically used chakra basically, is now back in play. This original villain of the Naruto universe is now back, and they all mention, her chakra levels are like sky high when she's being kind of formed, and it's just a huge threat all of a sudden that she's on the scene. But what's her plan? Like what exactly is her plan from here? In that obviously the whole Infinite Dream isn't actually her plan. That was just an aspect that needed to happen. What is she actually trying to do here? I assume it's take revenge on all of the people, but we'll obviously see what happens. So yeah, I really liked this episode. The first half was, I think, very disappointing as a way to end the Itachi arc, which was actually quite interesting for a lot of it. It just came to an end very poorly. Maybe they just realized like we can't stall this anymore. We got to get back to canon really quickly, and they just did it. But the canon side of this episode was really good. Like we knew the Kaguya arc was coming, and it was nice that they just used the second half of this episode to kind of just get the kind of transformation out of the way. Kaguya is here now. Madara's basically out of the picture. We're all about Kaguya from here on out to hopefully the end of the series. We don't know for sure if we're just going to get like a 20 episode run until the end of the series, or if we're going to get like 10 episodes, another filler arc, and then back to it. I hope, there's not too many chapters of the manga, as far as I'm aware, left to cover. I hope it's just a straight up run to the end of the series, because I think that we've had enough filler the last year or two that we need to just finish the show. Because, they can obviously do all the filler episodes they want, adapt all of the light novels that have come out and stuff like that, animate Boruto and so on. They can all do that once they finish the main Naruto show. So, I'm excited to see what happens. Like obviously next week's episode is going to be the first full canon episode in a long time, so that should be very exciting. And given how this episode ended, it's looking very, very good. So, yeah. That's basically my review for the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were. Were you disappointed with how the Itachi arc ended? And what are your thoughts on the return of Canon? But yeah, I'll just quickly end with a explanation about some of the stuff I'll have coming up on my channel. Mainly what my Naruto content's going to be going forward. Obviously, as of this video, I will be continuing to review the anime till hopefully the end of the series. So that will be a continuous thing on my channel. The other thing I've had going on my channel for the last couple of months is that I've been reading the Naruto manga for the first time. I'm primarily an anime watcher. I've read little bits and pieces of the manga before, but I'm currently on manga. I've done 14 volume reviews so far. Hopefully I'll get the video for volume 15, the review for that, out tomorrow. And then, of course, when the Boruto manga comes out, I will be reviewing that. So that starts next week. So in or around Thursday, Friday, we should be getting the first sites releasing the first Boruto chapter. I think it's meant to be about 50-60 pages, so it should be a pretty lengthy chapter. It's monthly rather than weekly, so that's interesting, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm very excited to see what the new Boruto manga is about. So that will be something I review on my channel as well. So yeah, that's the sort of Naruto stuff I'll be covering. I still have to get around to it, but I will be reviewing all of the light novels as they come out in English. I have the Kakashi one, I have the Shikamaru one, the Sakura one is out in a couple of weeks. I'll be reviewing all of those once I get around to reading them again. But yeah, the other thing next week as well, non-Naruto related, is that Free Comic Book Day is on Saturday. Saturday, May 7th. So the big thing obviously there for people aware of my channel is that there is going to be a free Legend of Korra comic. First Korra comic, first new Korra content in a while. We'll absolutely be doing a review and stuff like that. So big week next week with full Naruto canon, Boruto manga, and so on. So definitely keep an eye out on my channel. I'll be doing a lot of Naruto videos over the next while. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.